Hello and welcome to our program Where God Weeps, a program where we speak about the situation of the suffering church around the world. Today we're going to be considering the country of the Philippines. With China to the north and Indonesia to the south, the Philippines is Asia's most Catholic country, with approximately 87% of its 81 million practicing Catholics. To tell us more about the situation of Catholics in the Philippines, it's my great privilege to be speaking with the Bishop of the Masbate Diocese, His Excellency Bishop Jose Bantolo. Your Excellency, thank you for being with us here today in our program.
It's my pleasure. I am very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Your Excellency, you are number 5 of 14 children. Can you tell us, what was it like growing up in this environment? I understand you grew up in a village.
Yeah, you're right. A rural place in Gisian, Lawaan, Antique. That's very rural. A small place of, say, 20,000, small place. And simple life, farming and fishing in our place.
When would you say you had your first experience of God? When did you know that God was real?
I grew up in a Catholic family, but unluckily after my first communion, that was like I was 8, 9 years old, I a bit was so distant from the church. Only it was when I was like 12 years old, about to graduate from the elementary studies, that I felt there was something lacking in me. Because at that time I don't go to church, but it was during the feast of our parish, the Immaculate Conception, December 8, 1972, that I was inspired to go to church. And then I think it was also the beginning, not just of my conversion, going back to the church, but also the story of my vocation to the priesthood.
If you could say, what would be the wealth of the Filipino faith and what would be the weakness of the Filipino faith?
I would say that our faith is simple. I think the simplicity is really what matters here. And of course, there's no, I would say, dichotomy. What we experience in life is what we also express. No? You have to understand the attitude of Filipinos to really understand also their faith experience. No? Seemingly, it seems that it is external, no? But really the day-to-day experience of how hard and how to cope the daily sufferings, no? Is also at the same time expressed in their faith. But of course, there are many things to be formed or to be considered also, and that is perhaps one is how to express that faith more fully rather than something that is external.
So a deepening of the faith.
Deepening of the faith.
Catechesis as well? Or because I imagine that the faith is very alive, but is it deeply rooted? Or does it need, in terms of education as well?
Deeply rooted in a sense that that is coming from their experience and from their heart. But in terms of like the rationalization...
Formation, I suppose.
The rationalization, formation, or the mental capacity to understand their faith, that is something lacking. And that is where education must come in. The catechesis or other forms of forming their faith.
Your Excellency, you were nominated bishop by Pope Benedict XVI. Was this a shock for you when you heard of your nomination?
That was the greatest surprise in my life. Actually, I was not in my country when I was asked. I was out in Germany because we are building hospital in Antique, the diocese where I belong, the Antique Medical Center. I was there the second day of our visit when the Apostolic Nuncio called me up, announcing that I will be the next Bishop of Masbate. It was a great shock. I did not expect it.
Did you refuse?
it's not really, I just asked, no, can you give me time to reflect, pray over it, and say my yes. No? But of course, what else will you say if that is the need? Of course, I am very hesitant because of my other works, functions, my capacity, and the great task and the big challenge that accompanies this task.
What is your Episcopal motto, and why did you choose this motto?
My Episcopal motto is Vivere Christos Est. To live is Christ. This is based from the letter of St. Paul to the Philippians, chapter 1, verse 21. I am inspired by the often quoted verse of John Paul II to the young. No? Be not afraid to make Jesus your friend. No? Or what Blessed Mother Teresa of Calcutta once said before the priest during the international retreat of priests in Rome, I think, when she said, give to us Christ, only Christ, and always Christ. And as a philosopher, I'd like to believe that that is something when Paul would say, what I have, I consider rubbish, no? Useless, the moment I come to know Jesus Christ. No? So for me, that's the best way to look at life, no? To look at the value and the preciousness of life, because life is Christ.
How do you, as a philosopher, apply this to the day-to-day challenges? For example, as we know, many in the Philippines live on less than $2 a day in poverty situations. How do you take this motto and apply it to the challenges also? So not only feeding the spirit, but also responding to the day-to-day problems that the people have.
That is the real challenge for me, you know, how to incarnate, you know, put into flesh the words that I would like to bring to the people of Masbate to live with Christ. I think the thing there is to accompany people, to let them understand in the midst of their suffering, the preciousness of life, hoping that because of that, they would take more seriously their life. No? And especially, this is very true to those in power, no? To really consider that every form of life, especially human life, is precious based on that understanding that life is really Christ. No?
I want to come back to the question of respect for life because there are many important changes confronting the Filipino government and the church in this question. But I want to touch on another area of poverty which provokes violence, which is the question that in your area and some other parts of the mountainous areas, there's been a guerrilla action by the NPA. This is a communist rebel movement, if you will, which you have also confronted. And the question I have for you is how do you try and resolve violence as a consequence of poverty, and how do you also try and reach out to these people?
Yeah, it's really a difficult task, no? But we can start by saying it's true. Poverty breeds many things like violence, no? Because it is very easy to entice people to do something because they are just left on their own, they have nothing to do, they are poor. No? But it is not a reason for us to do things like deprive them of their peaceful, simple life. I think the best thing is for us in the church, no, to promote whatever we can do for their own development, not just their spiritual welfare, but their own other needs. And the best that we can do is start from where they are, no? Like fishing, then we can help them. No? That is why it's necessary to protect their fishing ground so that it is not being dominated by somebody powerful, or farming, or other means of livelihood. People must be helped and protected. They must be there working freely, never be afraid, because the church is with them. No? And I think that is the reason for the church to be there.
And why there's so much trust in the church. I think as one of the institutions within the Philippines, it is the most, if not one of the most trusted institutions in the country.
Right, no, because there's no other alternative, no. And the best alternative is, of course, the church who must show their concern, no, their care for these people who are in need of assistance, no? Not so much material assistance, but the mere presence. And I think when they are able to sense, no, to see that they are being cared, no, that there is somebody like the church that will be with them, then I think that is something.
Speaking about material goods and the desire for betterment of life, 2.7 million Filipinos have left the Philippines in search of a better life elsewhere. What is your position? What is the position of the church? Because it's a reality, but at the same time, there's such a difficult impact on the life of the family when either the husband or the wife is away, and often for such long periods of time.
Yeah, there are two ways of looking at it. Positively, it's a phenomenon, and positively, perhaps that's the way to also promote missionary work through this Catholic or Christian Filipinos working in different parts of the world. No? They carry with them their faith. No? I always say that. And of course, from there, they also, as Filipinos, they always would look back at where they belong, no? where they came from. And of course, they bring financial support to the families left at home. No? So this is something positive. No? But of course, it carries with it a negative, no? Because separation, no? Like a husband is working somewhere else and the wife is left alone to take care of their children, that also creates, destroys, or makes a difference, no? In the normal family setting of forming or accompanying their children for their own growth.
But as a pastor, how do you counsel? A young couple says, we are thinking, one of us, to go abroad for 5 years to work, for example, in the Middle East or where there's work for us. As a pastor, how do you counsel the family? Do you encourage to say, no, listen, better to be together in your situation, or yes?
The normal, of course, is we say no. Better to stay here and to start and build your family whatever you can in here. That's the normal thing that we do. No? But at the end, of course, you have also consider opportunities there. And so when that happens, what we do is, that is why there are other priests working in the different parts of the world to accompany them. No?
So there's a program where priests are dedicated Filipino to go here to around the world to accompany these migrants.
There are some groups who really have that program, but perhaps it's just like spontaneous. No? When priests are studying here in Rome, they at the same time would take care of the different, or not just in Rome, in other parts of the world, they also take care of our Filipino brethren. But down in our place, we also do something, of course. No? We continue the formation that we do to all those who have their families like working abroad, no? Or even in schools. That is also what we do. No? So we also accompany students whose parents are not present in their home, so that they will be accompanied well.
Coming back to this question of poverty again, poverty breeds often despair among young people, and of course drug addiction, which is a growing problem in the Philippines as in many countries around the world. However, in your diocese, you've started a new program called the Fazenda, the Farms of Hope. Can you tell us a little bit about this experience and why the Farm of Hope was introduced into your diocese?
I'm really new into this diocese, but from what I heard, it's already 8 years that this so-called Fazenda Esperanza was established. And I was there for a few days.
You visited.
I visited the place for a few days before my installation, and I happened to meet the boys and the girls who are now there.
What was your impression of these young people?
The thing is, you are really giving them hope. No, that's the name of the place. No, from the way I look at them, no, they are good. No, but only that in the process of their life, they have gone into this addiction. No? And because of that, I think some of them would share that they have been to other rehab centers, but they did not make it. But there, because they are working in the farm, they will be there for a certain, like 1 year. They have a program.
So it's a life of manual labor and prayer. Is that correct?
Right, manual labor, community life, and prayer. No? And the place is beautiful. You have all the silence that you need, the rest that you can have. But of course, you really have to work your own way, because it is only, I now believe that drug addiction cannot be helped by lectures, no? Nor even giving more drugs to them, no? But by manual work. No? And a certain process, by doing all your schedules, you are really put there to face and discover yourself, no? So that in the process you will come to know what really is the very root of that addiction that you are in. No? So I would like to believe that this place is really an esperanza, no? A hope, not only for Masbate, for the Philippines, but I know that it's open for Asia. No? When I went there, I told Roland, who is the man of the house, a German lay who is working there, all we need to do is maximize the use of the land, the use of the program. That is why we are campaigning for those who would like to. The problem is, of course, addiction. You don't admit that you are in that stage. No? All you have to do is admit that you are in need of help, apply yourself to there, and perhaps there is really hope for a better life for you.
Your Excellency, you touched earlier on the question of the dignity of life. There are statistics which suggest that the Filipino population will double within the next 3 decades, and there is a lot of pressure from the government but also from international organizations to introduce contraceptive programs and even abortion. And part of the answer, or part of the suggested answer, is to limit the growth of population. How does the Church respond to this question of the dignity of life, confronting this question of the population growth, and how also to manage this?
That's a big and hot issue now in the Philippines. No? And it's already, I think, in Congress that they have to vote whether to approve the so-called RH bill, no? Reproductive bill, health bill. Of course, the Church is opposing that. No? Not that the Church doesn't want a better, good life for everybody. The thing is, they would think that poverty is the reason, or overpopulation is the very root cause of poverty, no? Which is not. No?
It's not.
I would like to believe that because I belong to a big family. When I was ordained bishop, the Archbishop of Haro, Archbishop Lagdameo, told me, you must be pro-life because you are 14, no? Which is very true. Life is precious. No? It's a gift. So therefore, an increase of life is an increase of gift. No? The only thing there is, of course, we have to have a system that will help Filipinos find work or manage their own life. No? Because they are good and rational. I don't think they will just keep on producing children without the use of the reason. No? But to introduce other means or other programs that for us would hurt the sanctity of marriage, the value of family life, no? that go with it. No? So for us, we have to really face what is the very root of our problems. I think the Church would say it's not overpopulation.
It's poverty, and it's the distribution of wealth.
Right? And the corruption that, the system of corruption, or perhaps a certain attitude that we should eradicate in our thinking.
What is the danger if these programs are introduced into the Philippines? What would be the danger for the person and for society?
Probably the danger is, of course, the values. No? We often would say we will be creating the so-called contraceptive mentality. No? That we do things because we want to do it, or not considering, because there are certain values that need certain process like cooperation, sacrifice, discipline, and it is very difficult. But at the end, it is the only way towards making marriage so beautiful and family so Christian and happy.
If we understand that the contraceptive mentality is destructive for the family and consequently destructive for society, what is the alternative offered by the Catholic Church?
We always would go towards the family formation, the formation or catechesis of the family, or the natural family planning, as we say. But of course, it's difficult. No? The problem is, do we have resources or personnel to really implement such? But we do. No? Every local diocese or church tries its own way of promoting or forming families through parish programs or through schools. No? Integrated in the catechesis of the sacraments, or catechesis on the formation of basic ecclesial communities, no? All these sorts. So there are things being done.
And formation is the key. Education is the key.
Right.
Your Excellency, we've talked about the dignity of the human individual, we've talked about family, drug addiction, answers to drug addiction, and poverty. In all of this, what would you see as the priority, the focus? What appeal would you have for those with us today watching our program?
I would like to make appeal that we should always be extra generous when called upon to share. Share material goods, share our ideas, share our positive outlook in life. I think we need that. The danger is always to criticize and not doing something positive. No? I think that's the best way. We must always promote things positively and do what we can wherever we are. No? And second is, of course, we would like to ask people to unite with our prayers, no, for the Philippine Church as we face all the questions that you have raised up to me. We need prayers and support, no, for this. And thirdly, I would like to believe that from where we are, if we will just do our Christian duties, I think it can also affect the rest of the world, no? And in particular, the Philippines.
Your Excellency, thank you for having been with us today in our program.
Thank you also. I'm very happy that you have invited me to share what I can. Thank you so much, Mark.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us today on our program. And if you'd like to know more about how you might be able to help Bishop Bantolo and the Diocese of Masbate, I would encourage you to look at the contact information posted at the end of this program. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.